frame rates, refresh rates, none of that matters. FPS, we don't understand it. Retro gamers think in a whole nother way. And it's mind-boggling to you, yeah! You don't understand it. But we'll break it down today.
This video was brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you for your support.
Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Frame rates, video quality, stuff that is just mind-boggling to you, yeah! At least for a lot of retro gamers, right? And guys, I wrote an article, I'm going to put a link to it down below regarding this particular subject, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe for me. Hit that like button if you will. And there's a free Substack that I write that is, basically the script for many of the episodes that I make. Some of them don't make it to video, actually, because I forget or I don't have time. But you can read all of it there. And this idea came to me from two things that happened. One of them is my son, who is an actual computer engineer, right? Went to college. At least that's what I signed up for the papers, and that's what that's what the diploma says. An actual computer engineer, not like Mudahar, right? It's not pretend engineer, a real engineer, computer engineer. He turned me on to this game. He's like, "Oh, Dad, play this game." And it was I think it's called Valhalla or something, and it's a game about, you start off with nothing, and then it's a PC game. You're walking around, you're gathering resources, that kind of stuff. So I start playing. I said, "No problem." He messaged me and said, "Okay, get the game, whatever." So I'm sitting there playing, and he walks by, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa." And I'm like, "What happened?" I was sitting there trying to get the hang of the game, right? He's like, "Oh, let me fix your settings. That looks horrible." And I'm like, "What?" He goes in there and fixes my laptop settings to optimize the game, whatever it was. But to tell you the truth, guys, until that moment, I was having a great time. Guys, to that point, I didn't know anything was wrong. I was playing the game fine. I was just having a good time trying to figure out the game. Trying to chop wood. I remember that's what I was doing. And he's like, no, let me fix that for you. And he goes in my display settings and makes the game appear better, right? But to that point, I didn't know any better. This was just a game, and I was having fun with it the way it was. So do retro gamers have a blind spot, if you will? We don't care that much about, the rendering or the GPUs, FPSs, and all that. It never has been a real big factor to me based on the games that I've been playing all my life. Do you think I was thinking about the frame rate of the Atari 2600 or the NES? No. Absolutely not. Let's look at some of the consoles just to show you, right? Just to give you a better picture, guys. And all this came from two things. One of them was that situation with my son, and then I saw the Happy Console Gamer. He was making a video on reviews that he got wrong. And one of the things he mentioned was graphics. There was one game, it doesn't matter which one, there's a graphic performance drop on it, and he didn't mention it. He was so hyped about the game, he didn't care, right? And that's the situation that I find myself a lot in, right? I'm playing the Outer Worlds right now. I'm having an amazing time. I didn't know there was anything wrong with it.
Frame rate racist, right? Borrowing from Tommy Tallarico's Gaming Racist. I think that being overcritical of this game, specifically for the graphics, is I think a little unfair. But I think as gamers, we're having different experiences. We judge games differently depending on when you started playing. At least that's what I noticed. Because some of these reactions are like, I don't know. I know they're trying to sell clicks on YouTube and stuff. And I don't know how much of it is, just trying to crap on a game because you get more attention if you just are completely negative about the game. But I think if you played the first one, and if you're a fan of these kind of games, right, you're not going to tell me that the origin, a lot of origins of these games were in this, seventh generation. The graphics didn't look any better back then, and those games are renowned, right? And so I think it's just I don't know. I mean, we're just having very different gaming experiences. And yeah, I'll call you a frame rate racist. I'm just kidding.
Could it be my old eyes? You know, my prescription now is like the size of the bottom of bottles. You know, it's pretty big. That's why I don't even wear it on camera, because I don't want the reflection coming out. So guys, I don't notice this stuff. You know, I really don't. If it's really bad, I mean, if it's stuttering to the point I can't play it, okay, but I'm playing it on cloud. I'm playing it on cloud gaming, and it looks fine to me. You know, I mean, for what the game is, I wasn't expecting it to be lifelike or anything like that, right? Or I'm not obsessing over every blade of grass or the water. Does it look like real water? I wasn't promised that in the game, right? If they promise that in the game, that's different. But, you know, the visuals haven't stopped me from enjoying the game at all. But I saw all these reviews, and they were all trashing the game for its poor visual performance, and I was like, I guess I'm ignorant. I don't know about this stuff. My son does. I don't know it, but it doesn't affect my point of view when it comes to games. You know, it would be like a very minor thing if I had to like really nitpick at something. But if I'm enjoying the game, if I enjoy the gameplay, if I enjoy the story, that's more important to me than, you know, every blade of grass or every tree. You know, how far away can I look? Can I look 3 miles out, or is it 5 miles or 10? You know, it's not that important to me. It's what I have right in front of me. And it makes the experience for gamers, I think, very different, right? It's two different things. Guys, I wrote a Substack article with all the references and stuff I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to show you a chart, right? I want to show you a chart so we can visualize what I'm talking about, and maybe the reason why retro gamers like myself, not everybody, right? There's retro gamers that are pretty savvy. But guys like me, the regular Joe, right? Like, I'm not, you know, I don't know what GPU is the right one to play the Outer Worlds doing, right? I don't know what the best settings are, nor do I care. I just turn it on and I play. That's the depth of my experience, right? I want to spend a lot of time with the game, right? If there's something that's broken, I'll fix it. But if it's not, just, you know, it is what it is. But so let's look at this chart, and I'll go over some of the things I say on the article, and you know, we'll break it down, because we never asked ourselves these questions about previous generations, not in the Genesis, not in the NES, and certainly not when I was playing ColecoVision or the Atari 2600. Let's check it out.
All right, guys, so this is from my Substack article. I put a link down below. Make sure you go ahead and sign up for that. All right, so frame rate comparisons, right? Here's some stuff that I got off the internet, right? Just for reference purposes only, right? Let's not take this as the Bible, but, you know, it'll give us an idea, right? The 2600, right? 1977. 60 FPS. Everybody should be happy, right? Pitfall, Space Invaders type games used a simple scanline timing system that matched the TV's 60 Hz refresh rate, but sprite limits caused flicker. The Intellivision in 1980, 20 to 30 FPS, better graphics, slower rate. They had Astro Smash, Night Stalker, two great ones, by the way, if you haven't played them. We're going to have to add those to the Sprint. However, CPU-driven graphics, controller-produced uneven frame pacing, slowdowns common under heavy load. That's true for a lot of games. ColecoVision, one of my favorites. 30 to 60 FPS, Donkey Kong, Zaxxon, two of my favorite games. Use the TMS 9918A video chip. Stable 60 Hz refresh, though frame rates dropped in busy scenes. Nintendo Entertainment System. 30 to 60 FPS. Super Mario Bros. Metroid. Now, most games targeted 60 FPS. Sprite flicker reduced effective visual smoothness. Super Nintendo, 20 to 30 FPS, right? The graphics go up, frame rates tend to lower. Super Mario World, Star Fox, you remember that, right? Star Fox Super FX chip pushed early 3Ds at 3D at 15 FPS. So if you remember the Ocarina of Time, right, and N64, that was 20 FPS. Nobody cared. Right? Sega Genesis, 30 to 60, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Streets of Rage 2. Strong 2D engine allowed consistent 60 FPS on simpler stages. Because it had blast processing, baby. That's what I know about graphics, right? That's where my knowledge stops. Sony PlayStation, 20 to 30. Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy, early 3D limited by CPU and polygon count. Guys, now you tell me, even if you're from a later generation, let's say you grew up on PlayStation, are you going to say Resident Evil 2 and Final Fantasy when they came out were trash because the frame rates weren't all there? They were not 60? Right? That's probably, if you look at this whole starting row here, I'm just giving you, it's probably most of the systems that I had during this time. Probably the only one that's not here is I want to say the Saturn and N64, but you get the picture, right? The FPS wasn't always there, and the graphics were different qualities, but that's what we grew up with. So when we play these other games, we're not expecting, right? We're not expecting to see every blade of grass. The experience that modern gamers want and that we have are very different. Now the hardware power and refresh 3, 2, 1. Hardware power and high refresh monitors raise visual standards. PC gaming pushed the 60 FPS as the norm. I think this is the genesis for the 60 FPS for most gamers, most modern gamers, I would say, right? Consoles followed with performance targets, HDR, and ray tracing. Reviewers learned to measure performance digitally and post graphs on YouTube. And this is what we see now, right? And for us, the older man, the enjoyment isn't purely technical. It is a matter of fact, I don't even know what the technicals are, right? I started knowing a lot of them by doing the research for this article. My definition of high-speed graphics is the sake of blast processing, like I told you. Right? Older gamers often adjust automatically because that's what we did back in the day, right? We filled in the gaps with our brains. It really didn't bother us. If you played Super Metroid at 24 FPS, right, a modern 30 FPS title feels normal. So I love the 7th generation, right? There's many great games out there, that didn't run at full 60 FPS. The mind fills in the motion. Who cares? We had fun, and that is really, the reason for my argument here. It's not that we're blind. A lot of people think, oh, this guy's just, he likes Microsoft or he likes the Xbox, and that's why he doesn't criticize, for example, the Outer Worlds 2. No, it's just I didn't even notice it. I'm not counting frames for fun. That's not what I do. I'm just telling you my experience as a retro gamer. Somebody of another age may have a completely different experience, right? And that's really my thoughts on it, and for the first time I thought, maybe, right? Maybe we have different experiences. If you're a retro gamer that doesn't value graphics as the most important thing in your game, and you think a game like this is amazing, well, you just have a different way of judging a game and how you're going to have fun with it than somebody that grew up on the latest and greatest computers and expects high fidelity, high graphics, ultimate settings on everything that you play, and especially for a AAA game. And if a AAA game doesn't deliver that, then they'll judge the game more harshly, where we will give the game higher scores for playability and enjoyment, and maybe take a minimal off for graphics if we even notice them. But yeah, when it comes to that, as retro gamers, we have a blind spot because we just don't really care that much. And I'm not saying that's everybody, right? I'm generalizing here. But, to me, graphics aren't the most important thing in a game. Right? I'm more about the gameplay, the story, the mechanics. That's what I focus on.
Well, guys, that was a video. I'm not saying that I'm right or wrong, I'm just telling you my experience and the experience of many other people, right, that are not as sophisticated when it comes to computer settings or they're not part of the master PC race. We just turn on things, and if it's really not broken and it's enjoyable, we play it. The graphics of the game, how optimized they are, all that stuff, is more of an afterthought, right? It's more of a nitpick at the end. We enjoy the gameplay more, the storyline more. And, the experience of the game is quite different for us, I guess. What do you guys think? Do you guys think frame rates, are that important? Do they have to be 60? Does it have to be 60 at least? Are AAA gamings, do they have to be, right? If it's a AAA game, does it have to be a constant 60 anywhere you play? Or if it's 30, but if it's a good game, are you enjoying it? I enjoy it, right? I can tell the difference, but will it shy me away from not buying a game because if it's 30 FPS and I really, really like it, say, an Atlas game, for example? No, I'm still buying the game, guys. And I'm not going to say a game is bad just because of the graphics and the FPS. Tell me what you think. All right, humans, make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff. Join if you can. I really do appreciate you watching and the support. Take care.
This video was brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you for your support.